Hansel and Gretel by the Brothers Grimm. Near a great forest, there lived a poor woodcutter, his wife, and his 2 children. The boy's name was Hansel, and the girl's name was Gretel. They had very little to eat, and when a great famine struck the land, even a daily meal became impossible. One night, as the woodcutter lay in bed, he sighed heavily and turned to his wife.
What will become of us? We cannot even feed our children. There's nothing left for ourselves.
Husband, I have a plan. At dawn, we will take the children deep into the forest. We will leave them there with a fire and a little bread, and they will never find their way back.
No, wife, I cannot do that. How could I abandon my own children? The wild animals would soon devour them.
You fool! Then we shall all starve together. Do you want to dig our own graves?
But I pity the poor children.
The children had not been able to sleep from hunger and overheard everything. Gretel wept bitterly.
Hansel, it is all over for us.
Do not fret, Gretel. I have a plan.
When the house fell silent, Hansel crept outside. The moonlight shone on the white pebbles scattered across the yard, making them sparkle like silver. He gathered as many as his little pockets could hold and crept back inside.
Sleep well, dear sister. God will not forsake us.
At the break of dawn, the stepmother woke them roughly.
Up, you lazy children! We are going into the forest to cut wood.
She handed them each a small piece of bread.
This is for your dinner. Do not eat it before then, for you shall get no more.
Gretel tucked hers under her apron, but Hansel's hands were full of pebbles. As they walked into the forest, Hansel kept looking back.
Hansel, why do you keep looking behind you? Pay attention to your legs.
Oh, Father, I'm looking at my little white kitten sitting on the roof to bid me goodbye.
You young fool! That is no kitten. That is just the sunlight shining on the chimney.
But Hansel was not looking at a kitten. With each step, he dropped a white pebble onto the path. When they reached the heart of the forest, the father built a fire.
Rest here, children. We must go deeper into the woods to cut wood. When we are done, we will return for you.
But they did not return. At first, Hansel and Gretel believed they were alone. But as night fell, a strange sound echoed through the trees, the rustling of wind against dry branches, creaking like their father's axe. Gretel clutched Hansel's arm.
Hansel, how will we ever get home?
Wait until the moon rises, then we will find our way.
When the moon appeared, its silver light revealed the shining pebbles. One by one, the children followed them home. At dawn, they arrived at their father's house. Their stepmother opened the door.
You naughty children! Why did you sleep so long in the woods? We thought you were never coming back.
My dear children, I thought I had lost you forever.
But soon, famine struck once more. One night, the stepmother whispered to the father,
The children must go again, farther this time, so they cannot return.
But wife, it would be better to share our last morsel with them.
Nonsense! There is no other way.
Once again, the children overheard. Hansel tried to collect pebbles, but the door was locked. Instead, he crumbled his bread into his pocket and scattered it along the path. But when the moon rose, the breadcrumbs were gone, eaten by birds. Gretel clung to Hansel's arm.
What shall we do now?
We will find a way.
They wandered for days. Hunger gnawed at their bellies. Then, just as they could go no further, they saw it. A house made entirely of gingerbread and sweets.
Gretel, do you see it? A house made of cake.
The children rushed forward, breaking off pieces to eat. Then, from inside the house, a voice.
Oh, dear children, how hungry you must be. Come in, come in. There is plenty more inside.
The children hesitated, but the warm scent of sugar and spice drew them forward. Little did they know, they had walked into a trap. The door creaked open, and from the shadows stepped an old woman. Her back was hunched, her fingers gnarled like twisted tree roots. She leaned on a wooden crutch, her eyes small and dark beneath her heavy brow. But her smile was kind, too kind.
Oh, my dear children, how thin you are. Come inside, come inside. There's plenty more to eat.
Hansel and Gretel hesitated, but the warmth of the house, the scent of fresh-baked bread, and their own aching hunger drew them in. Inside, a great wooden table was set. Plates of steaming pancakes, bowls of sugared apples, and a jug of fresh milk stood before them. Their eyes widened.
Gretel, it's like a dream.
The witch watched them closely.
Eat, eat, my darlings. You will be no trouble here.
That night, she led them to 2 soft little beds with warm woolen blankets. Hansel and Gretel laid themselves down, their bellies full, their eyes heavy with sleep. They thought they had found heaven. They were wrong. The next morning, before the children awoke, the old woman crept to Hansel's bedside. She peered down at him, her lips curling into a wicked grin. She was not a kindly old woman. She was a wicked witch who lured children into her house to devour them. And now she had them. She grabbed Hansel's wrist with her bony fingers and dragged him to a small stable outside. The heavy iron door clanged shut. Hansel was locked in a cage.
Let me go! Gretel! Gretel!
Oh, hush, little boy. You will not escape me. You shall be fattened up. And when you are plump enough, I shall feast upon you.
She turned to Gretel, her sharp eyes glinting.
And you, girl, fetch water. Cook. Your brother must eat well.
Gretel's heart pounded, but she had no choice. Each day, the witch brought Hansel trays of rich food, roasted meats, warm bread, thick cream, but for Gretel, nothing but scraps. Hansel, however, was clever. Each morning, the old woman would rasp.
Hansel, stretch out your finger so I may feel if you have grown fat.
But Hansel did not stretch out his finger. Instead, he held out a small bone he had found in the straw. The witch, half blind, felt the thin, hard surface, and she grumbled.
Why are you not fattening up? Curse this boy!
Weeks passed. The witch's patience wore thin.
Enough! Fat or thin, I shall eat you tomorrow.
She turned to Gretel.
Fetch water. Stoke the fire. I shall bake bread first, and then your brother.
Gretel's hands trembled as she filled the kettle. She blinked back tears.
Dear God, help us.
The old woman knelt by the oven, the fire inside roaring hot.
The oven must be just right. Now, crawl inside, girl. See if it is hot enough.
Gretel froze. She saw the wicked glint in the witch's eyes. She understood. The witch was going to shove her inside. But Gretel was clever too.
I do not know how. How do I get inside?
The witch groaned in frustration.
Foolish girl, like this.
Now, Hansel.
No, no.
Gretel slammed the oven door shut and bolted it tight. Inside, the wicked witch writhed and howled. Smoke curled from the chimney. And then, silence. The witch was dead. Then, Gretel ran to the stable. She flung open the door.
Hansel, we are free. The witch is dead.
Hansel stumbled forward, blinking in disbelief. Then he threw his arms around his sister.
Oh, Gretel, you saved us.
As they turned to leave, they noticed something. In the witch's house, tucked away in dark corners, lay chests of gold and jewels. Hansel's eyes widened.
This is far better than pebbles.
Gretel laughed and filled her apron with gems. Then, hand in hand, they ran from the house through the forest toward home. At last, they reached their father's cottage. When their father saw them, he cried out in joy.
My children, you have returned.
Their stepmother, gone, and now, with the treasure they had brought, they would never be hungry again. Hansel and Gretel had outwitted the darkness and found their way back to the light. And so, they lived happily ever after. The end. I do hope you've enjoyed this fairy tale of Hansel and Gretel by the Brothers Grimm. Please make sure to click that like button and subscribe if you haven't. Most importantly, make sure to come back for more stories here at Grandma's house.